Hello, this is the Captain Paxo, back with another installment of the weekly hunt. We're on week 5 now. This is being recorded the day before Deviljho comes out. I can't wait. I need to get some, like, tinged and drugged meat and stuff to, kind of help myself out, when I do fight Deviljho, because, apparently he likes that sort of stuff. I've been so into Monster Hunter lately that I literally have just been scouring the internet for anything and everything Monster Hunter related. So that includes like even content that's like of Monster Hunter for you in Generations. I'm just like, I need Monster Hunter. So I do know a bit more about Deviljho than say your average new player to Monster Hunter, because I am a new player. Although I'm getting to the point where I would consider myself more of an experienced player. I'm now Hunter rank 75, although that really doesn't mean anything. It just means I've played a lot. But I've really been trying to get better with nearly every single weapon. I've been trying to diversify my roster of weapons. You know, I started off with Charge Blade, moved on to the bow and the switch axe and the lance, and now the sword and shield, you know. Just trying to figure out best ways to fight different monsters. I'm someone who really likes to try and get good at the games that I play. So, and with Monster Hunter, you know, there's always something more to learn. I find that whenever I fight a monster that I haven't fought in a while, I basically have to relearn the fight, because it's gonna do its tells, and I'm not gonna recognize its tells, and I'm gonna be like, what's it doing? What's it doing? And then it hits me with some like really obvious attack, and I'm like, oh, of course that's what it does. I knew that's what it does. I just forgot, you know. So that's always fun, and I think it's going to really help the replayability of this game. Just being able to constantly relearn monsters over and over. Because I've recently been doing some of the arena, and I said in I think it was the last installment of the weekly hunt that I'm not a big fan of the arena, because it puts big pressure on me when it's trying to be like, kill this monster in like 2 minutes, and I'm like, God, I can barely kill it in 5 minutes. But I keep having to tell myself that like it's not about being the best, it's about getting better, and I'm really not the best at fighting these monsters, especially when I haven't fought, say, Pukey in a really long time, you know. Fighting it in the arena, trying to get the best time possible, is just not a particularly good idea. I think it's just better to practice Pukey with one of the specific loadouts that you get, and then, you know, go from there. Go in trying to farm the materials, the what are they? The coins, the arena coins. Go in trying to farm the arena coins as a primary, and then maybe eventually get good enough at fighting the monster that you could get an A rank. One of the things that I've noticed, I checked out the world records for the current arena challenge, which, if I remember, is a low rank Tobi-Kadachi and a low rank Paolumu. You look at all of like the 10 pages of the world records. Each of them have like maybe 10-15 entries. They all use the bow. So it just makes me think that the best thing to do in the arena is to just use the bow. It just seems like the best option at the moment. So I don't know. Maybe they'll do something to try and change that, because I don't want to just rely on the bow. I've used the bow enough in my regular hunts. I don't want to have to use it in the arena when you've got so many more interesting loadouts. I mean, they're not particularly optimal. In fact, they're kind of shitty, but they're interesting, you know, they're different. This is me trying to do, what was it, the limited bounties, which was it was like a bunch of Jagras hunts, a bunch of Bird Wyvern hunts, and then a bunch of Elder Dragon hunts. And of course, this is high rank, so you know Basilgoose, the B-52 bomber, is going to show up and run amok and make a complete mess of everything, and be kind of hilarious whilst doing it. I do need to farm more Basilgoose. Because I need the rest of his armor, and his weapons are meant to be pretty good as well. But it's definitely going to get easier to fight Basilgoose with... Why is it going to get easier to fight Basilgoose once Deviljho shows up? Because they do have, like, an animated turf war, like a proper turf war, like with Anjanath and... Well, pretty much anything, you know, Anjanath and Toby Kadachi, Anjanath and Jagras, where they interact with each other in a very unique way. That's going to happen with Deviljho and Basilgoose. So maybe that'll make taking out Basilgoose a lot easier, although I think it's meant to be to make Deviljho a lot easier to fight, because the turf war in the footage that I saw of the live stream, it did like 3,000 damage. I'm not too sure if that's going to be the actual numbers. I hope it is, because that's a lot of damage. That's really going to help out with good old Deviljho. Looking forward to it. Have mentioned that, but it's exciting, you know. It's this really renowned monster from previous Monster Hunter games that is notoriously difficult and extraordinarily challenging, which is something that Monster Hunter World is kind of lacking in right now, is challenging monsters. The biggest challenge that you can really get for most people is Tempered Kirin, which you can cheese the shit out of with a bow, which is what I do. But then you've also got, of course, the other Tempered Elder Dragons, which I cheese the shit out of Teostra with Lance, and I cheese the shit out of Valhazak with Lance, so that really only leaves Nergigante and Kushala Daora. You know? And they're not, I wouldn't say they're easy, but I wouldn't say they're particularly difficult either. I'd say they pose a challenge, but not the kind of challenge that I imagine a lot of Monster Hunter veterans are looking for. So hopefully Deviljho will bring us just that. Really enjoying the Hunting Horn. I need to use more of the Hunting Horn. I really, really enjoy it. It's just, I always go back to the old faithful of the Lance and the Switch Axe and the bow, you know, or the Sword and Shield as it's been more recently. But occasionally I do bring out the Hunting Horn just to have a bit of fun. But yeah, I want to bring it more into multiplayer sessions, because one thing that you've probably noticed about a lot of these clips that I've shown in the weekly hunt is most of them are solo, and that's not really intentional. I mean, sometimes it's intentional. If I'm fighting Xeno'jiiva, I generally prefer to fight him solo, just to try and alleviate any element of random, because the more players you add, the more random it becomes, you know. The monster kind of does stuff that you're not expecting. The more random that you alleviate, the more predictable the monster becomes, the easier it is to fight. So, and considering I really don't like Xeno'jiiva, you know, I like to make it as predictable as possible so I can get through it as quickly as possible. Especially if you end up, well, once you get another person in, it applies the multiplayer multiplier to the monsters, so they do more. Do they do more damage? They definitely have more health though, and that's something that I'm not a huge fan of with Xeno'jiiva, because I already think he has way too much health. And not trying to disrespect any one particular individual, but you know, sometimes you're gonna get someone who maybe doesn't quite know what they're doing when it comes to the Xeno'jiiva fight, or maybe they bring a weapon that's not particularly suited, like they bring a sword and shield to the fight, and well, Sword and Shield, I don't know, is Sword and Shield particularly good against Xeno'jiiva? I don't think it's bad, but I at the same time, I really don't think it's your best choice. So, but that, apart from Xeno'jiiva, I pretty much prefer to play everything in multiplayer. It's just that, like, there's something about Monster Hunter World where people just want to play by themselves. It's like, you get this online session, you join these online sessions that are like 10 players, 11 players, 12, 13, whatever. You know, they're these fairly large groups of people, but they're all playing single player. Like, you look at the quests that you can join, and either they're all like playing by themselves, but they have like an open lobby, which is nice, you can join that if you want. But I've seen people who are in this online session with more than 10 people in it, But whenever they do a quest, even though the max players is like 2 or 4 or whatever, they set it to 1. So they're playing single player. They're playing in a multiplayer session, but they're still playing a single player game. I don't fucking understand that. It makes no sense to me. I always leave my my quests open, but most of the time people don't join. It's really nice when people do join, because this game is just so much more fun in multiplayer than it is in single player. I think 200 hours of playing this game in single player can attest to that. You know, the multiplayer aspect is way more fun than the single player, but it just doesn't happen all that often. I'm considering firing off SOS flares a bit more frequently just to try and get some more people in, because that seems to be the best way to get people into your quest, is to just do SOS flares, you know? I don't know. It's just this really curious case with Monster Hunter World, because in previous Monster Hunter games, the session size was only 4 players, so it was a lot more intimate. It was a lot more like, okay, so the max size for a quest is 4 players. If there are only 4 players in the session, then if there's one person off doing something else, then they're not really helping the group. They might as well be playing single player. You don't join an online session to play by yourself in older Monster Hunter games, because there's only room for 4 people, and if you're not helping, then you might as well just leave and let someone who will help in. I think that's the general mentality. Whereas in Monster Hunter World, because there's 16 players, I feel like it's a lot more accepted to just join an online session and then go do your own fucking thing, you know? Especially considering that there's barely any interaction between players. Like, how often have you seen someone talking in the chat in an online session? I've seen it, like, once, maybe. Once or twice. It barely ever happens. And if you want to interact with players in any meaningful way, you have to go up to the Gathering Hub, which, again, when have you ever seen anyone in the Gathering Hub? Like I said, I've been doing some arena quests recently. I did that for about 2 hours last night. I saw one person in the Gathering Hub, and then they left after about 15 seconds, you know? Nobody goes to the Gathering Hub. It's just dead all of the time, which really sucks, because I feel like Monster Hunter World has the potential to have some of the greatest social interactions in any game ever. Because, like, you have, like, the 16 people in an online session, you can have them all, like, talking to each other, kind of doing their own thing, but also, like, being like, oh, has anyone got a, like, a Kushala Daora tempered investigation? Or, like, I need some help with an optional quest, does anyone want to join me? It's, like, Nergigante or whatever monster that you're trying to farm, and people are like, yeah, I'll do that. Or they're just having, like, random casual chat that you'll see in, like, Warframe's region chat, just random crap like that. And then, of course, the Gathering Hub, where you can all, like, interact with each other. I just feel like Monster Hunter could have an incredible social experience, but people just don't choose to use it. And I don't think I can entirely blame people for not using it, because it is, again, it's 16 players instead of 4, so it's a lot less intimate, and the Gathering Hub is the only place that you can actually interact with other players outside of chat, and nobody uses the chat, nobody goes to the Gathering Hub, because there's no reason to go to the Gathering Hub, you know? So it's just a real shame. I'd really like to see more interaction between players. In fact, I might start trying to, like, actively chat in the chat and talking to people and trying to see what people are doing and joining more quests, because most of the time I, like many others, just kind of do my own thing. You know, I just sort of go, okay, what do I want to farm? I want to farm, like, Uragan or something like that. Are there anybody who's doing Uragan? Nope, I'll just create my own then. Whereas what I should really be doing is looking at all of the session, or all of the hunts that I can join, and go, which one of these do I want to do? And I just feel like that could be a lot more entertaining than just creating my own quests where I play by myself, just like everybody else. Because it's just, again, people are joining these online sessions with double-digit players in them to play by themselves. It makes no fucking sense. It's like you play online, or you're playing in this online session to pretend like you're interacting with other players when you're just not. You know, You join them and you're kind of thinking, okay, I'm playing with other people, which is just a complete lie. You're not playing with other people. You're still playing by yourself. You just have the option to play with other people, which, when was that not an option thanks to SOS, you know? I don't know. It's just... It's one of the sore spots for the game at the moment, I think. But thankfully with the return to the Gathering Hub change coming in the next patch, tomorrow's patch, hopefully that'll improve it a little bit more, but again, it's like, there's no reason to go to the Gathering Hub, so I really just don't think it's going to change all that much. I think a lot of players think that, like, the Gathering Hub might as well just not exist, because, I mean, well, there's nothing there. You can't, like, upgrade your armor, you can't, well, you can buy items, but you can't do, like, the Argos, you can't do the botanical research, you can't do any of that sort of stuff. Whereas if you could do all of that sort of stuff whilst interacting with other players, it would just, it makes for a much more positive experience, I feel like. But maybe there's a reason why they didn't do that. Maybe it's, like, the limitation of the PS4 or the Xbox One or something, that you can't have like 16 different players running around Astera. Like, maybe they just couldn't make it work. I don't know. But I've been on this tangent for quite a while now. Kushala Daora. I like Kushala Daora. Couldn't really tell you why, other than she's like a proper fucking dragon in a sea of monsters that are very unique. I don't know, it's like, when you have all of these crazy unique monsters, when you see the generic monster, all of a sudden it's not so generic, is it? I think that's just one of the things that's really cool about Kushala. Oh, watch this, by the way. So I get knocked over by Kushala. I'm in the tornado. I stand up. I delay the stand up for some dumb reason. And because I'm getting knocked by the tornado, I get hit by the wind blast. I get stunned, and then Meowth knocks me to try and unstun me straight into the wind tunnel. So I get staggered by that. If Kushala hadn't taken a breather right there, I would be dead. I had a third of my life remaining. Lesson learned, I should have actually stood up a lot earlier, because when you're on the ground, you essentially decide when you stand up. You're invulnerable when you're on the ground. And if you move, then your character stands up. If you stand up too early, a lot of the time it will get you killed. It will cause you to take a lot of unnecessary damage. But also if you delay it too much, as I just demonstrated there, caused me to take unnecessary damage. Because I delayed the stand up for no reason other than I could. I thought, like, maybe I could bait out Kushala to do an attack and then I could safely get up. But by the time my character automatically stood up, I then got brushed off by the tornado and then hit in the face by a one of Kushala's wind attacks, which then stunned me and then put me in a lot of a spot of bother. So yeah, it's a situational tool. You got to know when to use it, when to not use it. It's one of those sorts of things. It's got its ups and downs, just like everything in Monster Hunter. Still loving the sword and shield, by the way. Like, I know I was using the switch axe in the last section. This is actually a different Kushala hunt, obviously, because I'm using the sword and shield. Well, not so obviously, because I could have swapped out, which is kind of cool, you know. I'm not too sure. I don't really use the swapping of equipment all that often. I normally go into a hunt knowing what to expect, and then, like, changing it whenever I get to Astera, whenever I change the investigation that I'm doing or whatever. But I guess it can be useful for some people. The getting, like, refilling your items, though, that is really useful. That has been really useful, especially when I'm using, like, a sleep bombing set, because I finally got the Uragan bow, and I've created a sleep bombing set, and my god, is it pretty disgusting. I used it against Kirin, not tempered Kirin, just regular high rank Kirin, so I suppose it's not like the true test of whether this build is good or not, but I used it against high rank Kirin, because it's not like high rank Kirin isn't a threat, but it completely destroyed it. The Kirin had absolutely no chance in hell. It couldn't do anything. Like, I put it to sleep, sleep bombed it with some mega barrel bombs, made some more megas, put it to sleep again, blew it up again, put it to sleep for a third time, blew it up again, and because the bow has some amazing chase down capabilities, it couldn't get away to its nest. If it did get away to its nest, then I could have sleep bombed it for a fourth time. That is ridiculous. You know? And considering you can just go back to camp to refill on supplies, you can get a ton of sleep herbs in order to make more sleep arrows. Because if you don't know, the Uragan bow, why that's so specifically good for sleep bombing, is because it gets the sleep coating plus, which is more powerful than the regular sleep coating. Obviously, it's the plus version, it's just better than the regular version. Everybody knows that. Plus is better than regular. But it makes it a lot easier to put monsters to sleep. But also, the Uragan bow has the fire element, which I know elemental weapons aren't really so powerful right now, but Kirin is 3-star weak to fire. So again, it's just more damage. It's a very powerful bow. Super lethal, and I kind of want to try it out on some other monsters, maybe some tempered Elder Dragons as opposed to just high rank dragons, but tempered Elder Dragons is a whole nother ballpark for me right now. I'm still trying to work my way up, building some better equipment, ranking up my armor and all of that sort of good stuff to try and prepare for tempered Elder Dragons, because obviously you can see I'm fighting Elder Dragons right now, but these aren't tempered Elder Dragons, these are just regular Elder Dragons. When I will be fighting tempered Elder Dragons as like my day job, or rather as my primary hunting method, I guess, my primary hunting targets, I don't know, it's going to be a long time from now. Also, Kushala is so weak to flash pods. Like, Kushala's, at this point in this clip, I think Kushala's tried to flee about 4 times, and I just haven't let her. Just flash pod her out of the sky. It's kind of like a Rathalos. Rathalos is super weak to flash pods. Anything that tends to fly a lot tends to be super weak to flash pods. So if you're a melee user and the monster is just flying around way too much for your liking, just try and flash pod it. You'll probably have a lot of success doing it. And this is me fighting Teostra on the topic of Elder Dragons, because I did need to do the Elder Dragon weekly quest, and unfortunately this clip's really short because again I'm pretty shit at saving the clips when I need to. You know, I hit the record button and then, well, it didn't really, the fight didn't really last too long. But this build that I'm using is using 3 pieces of the Valhazak set. So I've got the chest, headgear, and leggings, I believe, because I didn't have a better piece. But I'd swap out the leggings for gauntlets because I think that gives more peak performance. And the idea of it is just to have your health at maximum for as long as possible. So I'm using the Vitality Mantle and the Fireproof Mantle and recovery speed with like as much guard as possible. So you're constantly regenerating health, and thanks to the Lance being like super good at blocking, you don't take too much tip damage, which means that you can very easily regenerate back to full health quite a lot, in conjunction with the Vitality Mantle and the Fireproof Mantle against Teostra specifically, and you're at max health quite a lot of the time, which just makes the fight quite easy, actually. Teostra's really tame with the Lance, but I need to change the Lance that I'm using, because I'm currently using the Bacon Lance, or the Odogaron Lance, if you don't know what that is. But I need to get like a like Xenojiva one, maybe like an Elder Seal one or a Water one. I'm not too sure. But I really didn't have too much trouble with Teostra at all with it, you know. And this is the sleep bombing set that I was talking about, fighting the Kirin with the sleep coatings. You might notice that I'm using the Apothecary Mantle, which increases the chance of you dealing status damage. I don't think it affects bows. I really don't think it affects bows because, like I said, the Apothecary Mantle increases the chance to do status, whereas when you apply a coating, a status coating to a bow, I think it just gives you a guaranteed chance of dealing status damage. So I don't think the Apothecary Mantle does anything for coatings, but I was using it anyway just in case, because I don't have any evidence one way or another, so I thought, let's use it, might as well, might help, might not. If it doesn't help, then no harm done, really. It's not like Kirin proves much of a threat for a bow user, because you can just stay so mobile. If you're watching the ground, there's nothing it can do, and it's asleep again. That was like, what, 2 minutes? And then I can just go into my inventory, craft some more sleep coatings and some more mega barrel bombs as I do. And if I run out, thanks to being able to just I can just go back to camp and refill my stock. You know? It's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. It is pretty resource intensive though, because you're having to use a lot of sleep coatings and a lot of mega barrel bombs, which mega barrel bombs aren't, I mean, they're a little bit expensive. You need to get a large barrel bomb, which is a large barrel that you have to buy from the provisions manager, and then you apply gunpowder to it, which you make with a fire herb and a nitro shroom, and then you get your large barrel bomb and you give it, or you combine it with either a gunpowder fish scale, or a devil's blight, and then you get mega barrel bombs. I mean, it is quite a few steps in order to get it, so there is definitely, like, it is definitely resource intensive, but it is extremely powerful, and I think this is the set that I'm going to take to fight Deviljho for the first time, you know, because I can just, the Dragon Piercer? Well, yes, the Dragon Piercer is a part of the bow. It's very useful, actually. It's the only part of the bow that can actually cut tails. But the bow is very powerful. What am I on here? I'm on something. Nitro shrooms, probably. But I mentioned before that the bow is incredibly powerful against Kirin because you can just stay really, really mobile when fighting him. And I feel like it's going to be somewhat similar to Deviljho, like just being able to stay mobile whilst fighting Deviljho. It might be pretty useful, but the main crux of this bow build is of course the sleep coatings. And I feel like if I can sleep bomb Deviljho, it's going to make the fight a heck of a lot easier, because you're having to fight it less. It's spending more time asleep. You're doing most of your damage when you put them to sleep and bomb them with the mega barrel bombs, you know? So I feel like it'll make the fight a heck of a lot easier. Obviously not, well, maybe it'll make it trivial. I hope it doesn't make it trivial, because otherwise, you know, sleep OP, right? But yeah, this is the set that I feel the most confident in fighting Deviljho with, because it's very consistent. I'll just be able to put him to sleep and hopefully he won't be able to do anything about it, and when he gets up I'll hopefully be able to blast him and stagger him and flinch him with that. And then of course there's the arc shot that can KO him, and the Dragon Piercer, which will cut off his tail, which apparently he'll eat his own tail. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to coming up with some sort of strategy to prevent him from eating his tail. I don't know, maybe I cut off his tail and then feed him like some drugged meat or something, put him to sleep, carve the tail, and then barrel bomb him. Something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe like put a pitfall trap down or something in front of his tail, so when he goes to eat it, he'll fall in the pitfall trap. You can cut the tail, carve the tail, and then get... Although that won't work, because apparently Deviljho will still be able to attack you even when he's in the pitfall. Which is... That's crazy, dude. That is... No monster can do that yet. Deviljho's gonna be the first. God damn, I love how unique each and every monster is in this game. Like, they've all got their own little quirks, they've all got their own little things that they can do, and Deviljho is just gonna be insane when he comes out, because there's gonna be so many things that we're so used to that he's just gonna be like, yeah, nah. So, like, traps, and he's like, well, you can use a pitfall trap, but he'll still be able to fight you. Not too sure how the shock trap will work. He's not like Elder Dragons, though. He does get affected by them. It's just to a different extent. Have I mentioned that I'm very excited for Deviljho? I don't think I've mentioned I'm very excited for Deviljho. Enough about Deviljho. What else has been going on with this week in terms of Monster Hunter? Well, one of my friends has recently bought Monster Hunter, so it's going to be kind of exciting for me to try and get him through the game. Or maybe not. I'm not going to try and rush him through the game. I feel like that's going to be a really bad idea, because this game is a slow burn game. It's not something you rush through in like 15 hours and then get everything that there is to get and do all the things that you need to do. Now, this is a slow burn game. This is something you spend multiple hundreds of hours playing and then still don't have nearly anything that you want to get, you know? I mean, at this point, I'm nearly 300 hours into Monster Hunter World, and oh, I'm still super far away from getting everything that I want. Like, I've only recently just gotten my first Nergigante weapon. Oh, this is the Prism Hercudrome, by the way. I figured might as well show this. I've showed all the other legendary pets. I saw a video online that stated that you can only get the Prism Hercudrome in the Ancient Forest, which, I mean, this is Wildspire Waste that I get it on, so I've just proven that that's wrong. But it also, if you look at the Hunter notes, it says you can get it everywhere, so, you know. Check your facts before you trust someone on the internet, because they could be very wrong. I mean, they could be very right, but they could also be very wrong. And that goes for me as well. I'm definitely not right. I mean, I thought Exhaust was amazing, and then I thought it was shit, and now I kind of think, it's somewhere in between. Because I think if you apply Exhaust damage to the head, it deals stun damage. Because I saw a comment that said that if you use the exhaust file on the Jagras Switch Axe, if you hit a monster on the head with it, it'll deal stun damage. And I was like, is that true? That's really cool if it is true. So I ended up going into the arena against the Pukey and trying it there, and sure enough, it does. I mean, I didn't manage to KO the monster, but I definitely was dealing stun damage. You could see like the sparks kind of stun effect coming off of its head whenever you hit it with the exhaust file, which is really cool. So I'm starting to warm up to Exhaust. I'm still not super over the moon about it, but I think it is a lot more powerful than I was giving it credit for. I don't think it's as powerful as I was originally giving it credit for, but it is a lot more powerful than I thought after that point. I've had a bit of a journey when it comes to exhaust damage. It's like, initially I thought it was like the best thing. Well, I've just stated all of this stuff, haven't I? You don't need to listen to me, I'm babbling on about random shit. But I've only, back on track to what I've only just accomplished. I've only just gotten my first Nergigante weapon. You know, nearly 300 hours in, first Nergigante weapon. And it is the Sword and Shield. I figured, well, I wanted to make an anti-Kushala Daora build with the Sword and Shield, because, I mean, you've seen me. I'm loving the Sword and Shield. It's like my current favourite weapon. You know, so I'm wanting to make a lot of setups with Sword and Shields to fight different monsters. So, naturally, I want to fight Kushala Daora with it. But I've noticed that she likes to roar fairly frequently, and that can put you in a lot of danger. Kind of like Volhazak can with his roars. Only not quite as lethal, because whenever Vol roars, he's normally like above you, and he'll slowly fall on top of you, and you just take damage because he roared if you're anywhere in front of him, which is very frustrating. But with Kushala, it's a little bit less like that, but you could still get roared. She'll land right next to you. Well, she rears back, roars, lands right next to you. She's got the windshield on, and then that'll, so you'll get staggered by the roar, staggered by the windshield, and then she'll swipe you with her claws. So it's a little bit more of an elaborate setup than Valhazak's roar, but it's still kind of the same result. You're taking damage because you got stunned by the roar. So I need to get some earplugs to kind of counter that. I mean, I do have some earplugs. I have the Basil Helm, as I knock my desk. I have the Basil Helm gear and the Coil, which give you level 4 earplugs, but I don't have the Charm. If I got the Charm and I fully upgraded it, then that would give me level 3 earplugs right off the bat, so then I'd only need to get either the Basil Helm or the Coil, depending on whatever I needed elsewhere in the build. But that would give me full earplugs, which would mean that I don't have to worry about Kushala Roar anymore. After that, it's the pesky windshield, which, well, I can use the, I think poison works. It's very anecdotal, but I think poison works. Because I was using the poison switch axe, or the poison file switch axe, the ore switch axe that has the poison file when you fully upgrade it. I was using that, and Kushala didn't seem to have the windshield up as frequently as when I used just the regular like bone, sword, and shield, which doesn't do poison, obviously. So I think poison does work, but what also works, of course, is that Elder Seal. So I thought, what has good Elder Seal? What has good Elder Seal and is just a generally good weapon overall? And I kind of decided on the Nergigante because, of course, it has high Elder Seal, which is fantastic on every weapon. I think faster swinging weapons can get away with lower Elder Seal, but that, of course, that doesn't mean you have to go with low Elder Seal. You can go for high Elder Seal as well, which is what I've done. But it's also got... it doesn't get affected by handicraft, and with all of the armor skills that I wanted to get earplugs and whatever else for the setup, mostly earplugs, but I felt like if I went for handicraft, I'd have to sacrifice something, you know, there would be something that I was going to miss out on and I was going to have a hard time with, because I think I also want to go with stun resist, because Kushala does seem to stun me a lot more than a lot of other monsters do, so I'll probably go with maximum stun resistance as well. So, you know, there's something else to keep in mind. So trying to focus on handicraft could cause some issues in my build. So I went with the Nergigante one. No, I don't have to worry about sharpness or handicraft all that much. I mean, protective polish, I suppose, could still be useful, but in the grand scheme of things, there are other things to worry about, especially considering I don't have the protective polish duel. This is a optional mission where you have to fight a tempered Baroth and a tempered Radoban in the special arena. I'm not really a big fan of fighting multiple very large monsters in the special arena because it's kind of a small arena, and especially with certain monsters like the Baroth and Radoban, they like to charge a lot. Like, they have a lot of attacks where they charge forward, dealing damage. If you're on the wrong side of one of the monsters, it can be very difficult to see when the other one is charging towards you, you know, so yeah, I just feel like it gets very messy after a while, and I'm not very good at dealing with it at the moment, so I found this to be quite frustrating. Still got through it without too much trouble. It was more of a frustration than an actual threat. But either way, it's not something I want to be doing again anytime soon. I don't think it gave me any special... What? It gave me a mantle. I'm pretty sure it gave me a mantle. I'm forgetting all of the little side quests to get all of the mantles. This was the... this optional quest popped up once I got to Hunter rank 75. So it's definitely worth increasing your Hunter rank, because it gives you access to all these optional quests that give you access to new gear, like more mantles and stuff. And of course it is just kind of fun to increase your Hunter rank just to kind of see how far you can get it up, you know. But I'm kind of babbling on about this. As I do. God damn. Is it just me, or like maybe it's the special arena? But Baroth looks really big here, as does Radoban. Again, it's probably just the arena, because the arena is kind of small. in comparison to something like the Rotten Vale and the Wildspire Waste. It might be to do with like the fact that there's a roof. Well, there isn't really a roof, but it feels like there's a roof. It's very walled, it's very enclosed, it feels very tight. I don't know. Maybe these monsters were big, I can't quite remember. I think this Radoban gave me a silver crown for a giant, but I could be very wrong on that. I find it so hard to tell when monsters are particularly big or particularly small. Like, I just cannot do it. Like, I look at a monster and someone will be like, holy shit, that's a massive monster. I'm like, is it? I thought it was just regular size. I mean, I have noticed it once with a great Jagras. Like, I fought one of the Jagrases for the what was it? The weekly limited bounty, and I was like, wow, this Jagras is it just me, or is this Jagras actually kind of big? And lo and behold, I got a gold giant crown, so I was like, oh, it was big. Huh. Maybe I can tell the difference. Maybe I'm not just an idiot. Maybe I don't need my eyesight checked. I don't know. Still have not gotten a goddamn miniature crown. Like, is there some sort of trick to getting miniature crowns? Because I can't fucking do it. I can't get them. Like, it's ridiculous at this point. Although, I will be getting a miniature crown for Odo Garon when the Mega Man, what's it called? The Mega Man... Lost my words. Look at this Black Diablos, by the way. Hi! It skates around the corner. I'm like, oh, shit. Was not expecting that. The Mega Man event, that's the word. Because the Mega Man event is coming out for the spring update, and that's going to include, as far as I can tell, it's going to include a fight against 2 Odo Garons, of which one is a gold crown for miniature, which is going to be so nice to finally get a miniature gold crown, because holy shit. It's been so long and I haven't gotten a single miniature crown. It's so frustrating. But of course it will also get me the Mega Man collaboration thingamadoodle for the Palico, which will be pretty cool. Look at this guy with the lance, by the way. Attacking the Black Diablos' horns with just regular attacks is like, I don't care if you have like whatever sharpness, like purple sharpness, like ultraviolet sharpness. I don't care if you have rainbow sharpness. You are not going to be able to, or you are always going to bounce off of Black Diablos' horns with the lance, unless you use the super counter thrust, which this guy doesn't seem to know how to do, which is unfortunate. Holy shit, Black Diablos is scary. Good God. But yeah, a little PSA for anyone trying the lance out for the first time. The lance is not very fancy in terms of its offense. Your attacks consist of, well, just doing 3. You attack 3 times in a row, and then you perform another action. And that's just how the lance works. So you attack 1, 2, 3, and then you either do a sidestep with the evade, or you do go into the counter thrust, or you do a shield dash, and then you can do 1, 2, 3 again. Although the shield dash does give you some new finishes, like the shield smash or the jump thrust. But if you do an evade or a counter thrust, then you get to reset your combo essentially. So you kind of need to get into the rhythm of doing 1, 2, 3, backstep, 1, 2, 3, backstep, 1, 2, 3, backstep, and it really allows you to keep the pressure on. If you just do 1, 2, 3 and then wait, and then 1, 2, 3, and then wait, it's a lot slower, and well, you're going to put yourself in a position where your positioning is pretty bad. The evade just lets you reposition really, really nicely. You can do 1, evade, 1, evade, 1, 2, evade, 1, 2, 3. Sort of thing. You get into a rhythm of it. Again, the lance is not fancy when it comes to offense. Its utility comes in the form of its defense. Like, well, yeah, with the evade, the counter thrust, just the regular block, the super counter thrust, or just the super guard. God, Black Diablos is pretty goddamn scary. Just charging forward like an absolute maniac. Good God. But yeah, good old Lance. Not so fancy in terms of its offense, but has a lot of potential in its defense. That's why they've given it the best shield in the game. And I mean, it's a Lance. What are you gonna do with it except for poke? I don't know. It's one of those weapons, isn't it? It's one of those weapons that, well, every weapon really. Every weapon has people who are gonna get how to use it, and you're going to have people who really just don't get it and don't like it at all. Like me, I really don't like dual blades personally. I'm not a particularly big fan of them. If I used them a lot more, I could get used to them. I could understand them a bit better. But as of right now, I'm kind of a scrub. And I suppose it's like the first monster that you really have to overcome in Monster Hunter is the combat. Just figuring out which weapon is best suited for you, understanding how to use these weapons and what their moves are, when to use their moves, and all of that sort of good stuff, you know. Because, I mean, it really is a beast. It's the combat in Monster Hunter isn't just gonna bend to your will. You can't just smash your head against a brick wall and hope for the best like you can in a lot of other action games. You do actually have to think about what you're doing. You have to understand that these are the moves at your disposal, but you can only perform these moves in certain conditions. These weapons, or these beasts, or whatever, well, yeah, they're beasts that you kind of have to tame. You have to work with them. They're not going to just do whatever you want them to. You have to kind of learn to respect them. Which is, it's something that I feel like a lot of people don't quite understand. I mean, oh man, I don't think I have enough time to really get into what I want to talk about, but let's just say I saw a review on YouTube that I really didn't agree with. It was basically a review that said, like, this game, like Monster Hunter World, it's not for everyone, it's only for a very specific subset of people, of players, but then he never went into what that subset of players are, other than saying, you're going to enjoy Monster Hunter World if you're a fan of monster hunting games, which fucking clarifies nothing. But he also said that the combat was super floaty and heavy at the same time, and that you're gonna miss a lot of the time if you're not careful. Which to that I just respond, well, you just have to understand how the combat works. You have to understand that the combat won't just bend to your every whim. You do actually have to get good at it. You have to understand it. You have to respect it. Or else it's not going to respect you. It's not going to do what you want. You get what I mean? But I suppose that's a tangent for a completely different episode, or another week, I suppose. What is a good tangent is that you might have noticed that Yellow Man died. Yellow Man just died, but he wasn't actually fighting with us against this Anjanath. He was off fighting the Tempered Tobi-Kadachi, which is what we're going to do next. We're currently fighting this Tempered Anjanath, and there's all three of us here, and Yellow Guy's like, I'm going to fight this Tobi-Kadachi. He gets carted by the Tobi-Kadachi, which is like, I mean, people get carted, but if you're off by yourself, as opposed to with the rest of the group, then you have no excuse for being cocky and getting kicked, like getting your ass kicked by a certain monster, you know. But my problem isn't that he got carted. My problem isn't that he was off by himself or anything, although I do have issues with him being by himself and not with the rest of the team. And the fact that he did get carted is a little bit disappointing. It's a little bit upsetting, but not like, oh my god, he should never play the fucking game, he's so bad. No, it's more of like a, it happens, it's a shame. I mean, it could have been avoided, but what are you gonna do? My main issue is that right now, he is fucking AFK in the camp, waiting for us to complete his stupid quest for him. I mean, it's not his quest, he joined, but You get what I mean? He's just sitting in camp waiting for us to complete the quest so he can get his fucking easy rewards. Like, what a fucking scumbag. I hate people who feed off the success of others. It really generally pisses me off. Especially in video games, where, as far as I'm concerned, video games are incredibly egalitarian. The amount of effort that you put in is the amount of reward that you get out. So if you get good at a game, if you learn how to fight monsters incredibly effectively, and you learn your weapon really well, and just everything that there is to the game and the monsters, then you should get rewarded for having that knowledge, for having that skill, for being able to fight these monsters very proficiently. You should not get rewarded for dying and then going AFK. Ah! Sorry. Personal pet peeve right there. But it is very frustrating. I'm sure people can agree. That's the first time I've seen someone going AFK, by the way. So if you think that the game is riddled with people just dying and then going AFK, I don't think it is. Because, like I said, that's the first time I've seen it. But what I have seen a lot of, as I mentioned much earlier, is people who go into an online session that are filled with like 2-digit people, so like 10, 11, 12 people, and then they just do their own thing. They join an online session filled with people, and then they play single player. I just feel like this is it's very disappointing to see, but what can you do? You can't control players, you can't change them. They'll do whatever the fuck they want. You know? Although I think I am, over the next week, going to try and make a bit more of an effort to be a bit more sociable. I got an invite to a squad yesterday, even though I didn't play with anyone from the squad or really interact with anyone in any way. I might join it, and I might like try and play with these people. I might try and be a bit more sociable in sessions. You know, I might be like, yo, what's everybody hunting? You know, I've got this badass investigation that gives like 4 rewards for like there's like a tempered Rathian or something like that. Anyone want to do it? That sort of thing, you know. And I kind of like to put this forward to you people watching, if you are indeed this far into the video, which, well done if you are. Like, that is a feat in of itself. Not many people watch these videos, and I reckon even fewer actually make it to this point in the video. But if you are this far into the video, then try it for yourself. Try and be a bit more sociable in these online sessions, because like I said, this game really does have the potential to be one of the most sociable games on PlayStation. It's just the players need to try to do it. They need to try for it. It's not just going to happen by itself. That's just one of the things about social lives, is that they don't just happen by themselves. You do have to try, which, you know, I'm a bit of an antisocial bastard when it comes to anything sociable, and I'm trying to advocate for let's be more sociable. There's something very wrong with this scenario. But anyway, this is me fighting Nergigante. I already have the Nergigante Sword and Shield, but I want to upgrade it. You know, I want to upgrade it to its full power, because it's just the best form of it. But if you're watching, I mean, you've probably already screamed at the screen, sort of being like, "You didn't carve the tail!" Yeah, we forgot to carve the tail. We were too busy trying to stop Nergigante going to his nest, just constantly flashing him like, "Fight me! Fight me! You're not going anywhere." Where do you think you're going? We were so focused on that we forgot to carve the tail. So at the end, when we killed Nergigante, we were like, hang on a minute, we didn't carve the tail. Shit! 30, 29, run! Get the tail! Oh dear. We did not get the tail, by the way. We ran out of time. We were about 10 seconds out from being able to even just interact with the tail. And even then, we wouldn't have got it, which... that sucks. But what can you do? Super looking forward to tomorrow's update, though. There's all of the all of the new events, the spring nonsense, and all that sort of good stuff. Looking forward to it. First thing that you're going to see in next week's episode is going to be Deviljho. I guarantee it. Oh. But as you can see, people are just disbanding. It happens. People aren't particularly sociable. So here's my, well, this week's guild card. I got 161 Unity. I don't know what that fucking means. Someone please tell me, what the fuck does Unity mean? I don't get it. What is it? And we finally got 100 quests complete with the bow. So now I can profess I'm a master of the bow. I'm really not, by the way. I'm really not. I'm just okay with it, but I can start messing around with some of the other weapons a bit more. Or I have been, but I need to mess around with some of the weapons a bit more. Nothing's changed with the Palico. Still got the Death Stench hoodie sort of going on. We got the Impregnable Defense trophy though, so that's like 8 pieces of Rarity 8 armor. Nowhere near getting the Rarity 8 weapons though. I still don't think I have a single one. And of course, you know, just doing our thing. Did a lot more arena quests, as I mentioned. I didn't show them off because they were embarrassing. Quite frankly, I was too embarrassed to show them. I was getting my ass kicked by like Zizi Yaku and yeah. Sorry about that. Hopefully next week I'll be a little bit more proficient at doing arena quests and I actually have something entertaining to show off. But of course, it is only an hour long, so maybe I will, maybe I won't. Probably will. I'll make a point in showing it off. But I'll leave you with the rest of the guild card, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.